This afternoon I wanted to take a look at my Leben CS600 integrated tube amplifier. I've had this unit now a couple months and I have gotten to use it and have some thoughts on it. Not sure I'd consider this a full review, but it's probably going to be somewhat complete, so you be the judge. I'm currently running some Russian 6N3C tubes in this amplifier, 4 of them. And so these are pretty much equivalent to a 6L6GC. Real quick, I'll go through what power tubes you can use in this amplifier. You can use a 6CA7 or EL34, KT77, 6L6GB, 6L6GC, along with the 5881 tube. You can use a 350B, a KT66, KT88, and 6550A tubes. So a pretty good selection of tubes. Based on which ones you choose, you'll have to flip some switches inside of the amplifier so that they have the proper voltage. You'll also need a 6CJ3, which is a damper tube, which helps kind of function as a slow start, so that it extends the life of the tubes, the power tubes, by kind of bringing on the voltage slowly. And then since this is the 600 and not the 600S or 600X, you'll need 4 6CS7 tubes. This is not like a tube that's used in a lot of amplifiers, but because of this amp using them, they've become scarce and a bit more expensive than I think was planned. So that being said, the X does away with this by, I think, having either an AU7, a 12AU7 or 12AX7, and then a 12AT or 12BH7 in place, so more common tubes. And I think this model can be modified to run on that tube, those tubes as well. But you'll have to do some research because there's only one repair facility here in the States that can facilitate this. So I will go ahead, and right now I've got the matching phono preamp. I've got Microsiki BL51 on the other side here. Let's go take a look here if we can. Sorry for the jerkiness, but there you go. All set up here. All of my wires are, for the most part, hidden and tied up, Velcroed together, so that we have a kind of clean appearance here. They're sitting on a console, custom console that I purchased 8 or 10 years ago from the 60s, early 60s. So overall opinions of this amp, it's beautiful, it sounds beautiful. It's built to sort of a higher standard than it's made to look, you know, vintage, like an older amplifier. But these are still in production. You can buy these, and just you have to wait. It's not like an instantaneous process. You go to your local audio dealer that it's a Leben retailer, and you would essentially order the amp, and then a few months later, you would end up with it if they didn't have one in stock. So, like I said, beautiful sounding amplifier. I mean, it's truly beautiful. But there are some issues. You know, this isn't built to be like anything else. It's truly really a unique design. You know, the biggest thing I've noticed that's been on my mind is the power transformer gets very warm. It's not super cool in here, but after about an hour and a half, that transformer is hot enough that it makes you want to pull your hand off of it after a few seconds. Now, I don't think there's any kind of issue long-term in terms of, is it going to damage the amp or the power transformer? Likely not. But given just how hot it is, it's not an ideal thing. Not too sure why it has to be so hot. I mean, this amp is only about 28 to 32 watts per channel. I haven't independently verified that, but that's, you know, what the booklet says. It weighs close to 50 pounds, and the power transformer seems to be a good size. I'm just not too sure why it's so hot. Of course, if you have this amp, please let me know if you run it with the cover off and you've ever reached inside to feel how hot your transformer is. Could be my unit, but my guess is that this is going to be something that is pretty consistent across the different units, especially in warmer climates. So what I'll go ahead and do now is I will flip it on and let you take a look at the lights. So you'll notice as it turns on here, if you look towards the middle of the amp, after about 10 to 15 seconds, that light will illuminate. I've got the amp muted. And once that light illuminates, that's the operation light, basically telling you the tubes are warmed up and ready to go. And then I'll go ahead and turn on so it's lighting up now. I'll go ahead and turn up the phono-pre, turn on the phono-pre, and get this record spinning. Unmute.
Oh, my mother was just a girl, 17, and my dad was passing through, doing things a man will do, and my mother was just a girl, 17. It's a wonder that I'm in this world at all. It's a wonder that I'm in this world at all. And I have a life to claim. No, I really don't know my name. It's a wonder that I'm in this world at all. Ain't one soul in the whole world knows my name. Ain't one soul in the whole world knows my name. But it's written up in the sky, and I'll see it by and by. Ain't one soul in the whole world knows my name. Well, I had a good mother and dad just the same. Well, I had a good mother and dad just the same. And they took me to their breast, and they sure stood the test. Yes, I had a good mother and dad the same. There ain't one soul in the whole world knows my name. Ain't one soul in the whole world knows my name. Just another baby born to a girl lost and lone. Ain't one soul in the whole world knows my name.
Turn that down and pick up where we left off. So I know, I'm not really a big fan of playing music and recording it through my phone to give anybody an idea of how good a system sounds, because it doesn't really work. But to me, it's a lovely sounding system. I'm running Tannoy SRM 12Bs with the Leben set here, and I like the sound a lot. Now, when I received the amp, I did have a couple of issues, and the biggest one being that there was issues with oxidation. And I've been told that the switches are kind of prone to this. So what you'll want to do is all of the selection switches, especially towards the right of the bass boost is really the biggest one. You want to clean that switch. You'll want to also go ahead and spray some contact cleaner on your tube pins and insert them, kind of work them in and out a little bit if this unit has sat unused for any amount of time. So definitely something that you want to do because you don't want to hear popping and things that I did when I bought this unit. So there is a repair facility here in the States. It's in Arizona. Prices seem to be reasonable. Parts prices seem to be reasonable as well. Lieben could charge a lot more for the parts, I think, but given the difference in kind of customs, you know, I think I get the sense that, you know, he wants to stand behind his work and make sure that any issues that come up are taken care of in a way that's fair. So that's nice. So this unit has 4 different line sources, and then it's got a CD input as well. So a total of 5 inputs. There's a tape monitor switch, and you can reverse stereo. So you can have stereo and then you can reverse it if you wired something backwards. Balance left and right, and then this bass boost, which is a cool setting. Very old school, not very necessary, but unique at the same time. So I will go ahead and cut it off here, and then I'll pick up again with the camera off the tripod, and we'll take a look inside the amp. Okay, so we're now looking down into the chassis with the cover off, which is how I've been running it, just because I think it runs a bit cooler, and I was using tubes at one point that were too tall. So that's another sort of downside. There's not a lot of room inside of this chassis to incorporate the height of larger tubes like a KT88, or if you were brave enough to run a KT120 in here, that surely would not fit under the cover. So if we take a look here, very, very simple design, well built. They did recess the power tubes down into the chassis, so you know there was an attempt to make them fit, but it's just still not tall enough. Here is your output transformers. Sorry for the dust. This is like a choke, and then here's your power transformer. The damper tube is here as well, and then your 6 CS7s. Depending on what tube you chose to use, here's the switches for the correct voltage and your cathode resistors. So if you're going to run the L34, you'd want both switches in the down position. Now let's take a look at this unit real quick. This is the RS30 EQ. Has a light out in it. This is a really nice unit as well. One thing that as you can see my reflection, one thing I'm not a huge fan of is the fact that the CS600 is gold plated. This is not, so your colors do not match up perfectly. Another small issue, which could be remedied, is that it has 1 set of feet. This unit has 2. So you go ahead and swap out the feet for something else and fix that issue. But yeah, they probably should have been the same height coming from the factory, knowing that people would use these units together. Maybe that's changed, I'm not sure, but they were from separate people, so anyway. So I think I will kind of cut it off here. If, of course, anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. This unit, the CS600, retails for about $8,000. Secondhand, you can find them from $4,000 to $5,000, depending on condition and age. And I think in terms of how great this unit sounds, I think it's very reasonable even to buy one of these new if you have that kind of money to spend on an amplifier. If you don't and you still want a Lieben, there is the CS300, which is a smaller integrated, about half the weight of this unit and also about half the price. So those can be found secondhand as well, or can be purchased for about $4,000 new. So lovely stuff, truly beautiful build quality. If you were to go underneath this unit, you'd see just impeccable wiring and all hand done, no circuit boards really to be found. And to me, that's really kind of the magic here, is that it's all point to point, handmade, and obviously a lot of care went into building this. So if you like this, please like and subscribe here. Appreciate it. These videos, I want people to see them, especially if they're interested. And when I was looking at this amp, I couldn't find any videos that were made by anybody sort of who's in the States running this on 120. So hopefully this helps some people out, and like I said, I'm happy to answer questions, but it definitely helps if you like and subscribe, because it helps more people see these videos. I have a lot of videos, some are audio, some are other things, so hopefully some of the other videos are your interest as well.